Welcome to the channel. I'm Travis from Just Trav'lin, and today you might recognize our friends Travis and Leah from a previous episode, and today we're grateful enough to do a full tour of their truck.
So my name's Travis.
And I'm Leah.
And we're from Tucson, Arizona, and we're traveling the Pan American Highway on an 18-month trip in our 2009 Tacoma.
Great, awesome. So let's get to it.
The Pan American Highway is a 30,000 kilometer route from Alaska to Argentina, give or take a few thousand kilometers. There are a lot of travelers on this route. We met some of them, such as Travis and Leah. And we got to know them and their vehicle really well. And we are now bringing their amazing build to you.
Okay, great. Let's get into it. The truck for the Pan American Highway. Can you just run through a few things that you did to the truck to get it ready for this amazing journey?
Yeah, so like I said, it's a 2009 Tacoma. I've had the truck since it was brand new.
Right.
But all the stuff you see for the build out was done in a year before we left for the trip. It was pretty well worn out, so almost everything on the truck was replaced.
Right.
Suspension wise, it has an Old Man Emo ARB suspension kit, pretty much the whole works on that. And it has about the stiffest springs you can get as part of that package.
Right on.
Gives like a 2-inch lift if it's not too loaded down.
Yeah.
And then other stuff you can see here, it has the ARB bumper. There's no winch on there or anything, mainly to keep weight down, and we don't want to be getting that insane to need a winch. But it should protect the truck from animal strikes. And then we've got a toolbox on the roof. It's from Alu-cab, like the tent and the awning. The main reason we use that one was because I didn't need to make a roof rack based on its size. We could just use mounting feet. So
Perfect. So it fit exactly into the line of
into the space, yeah.
The rack, yeah. So
and
that's great.
Almost everything on here, I did all of it myself, and a lot of the fabrication was all just little things I came up with. So that box made it so that the fabrication didn't have to be as complicated for the roof rack.
Brilliant, perfect. So, now can you let me know what tires you're running?
They're the Toyota All-Terrain Open Countries.
Open Countries, okay, right on.
Yeah, so they're pretty good tires. They should last the entire length of the trip. And the main reason I chose those, they're good quality, but also they're the lightest weight all-terrain tire in that size you can buy.
Ah, perfect. Also important, weight for a Tacoma.
Yeah.
So I see you've got some sort of custom setup here. Can you just tell us what you've done here and how you've prepared this for the Pan American Highway?
Yeah, so there's not a lot of storage space in a Tacoma, so because it was my truck, I've had it forever and I can do whatever I want. We ripped the whole back seats out and a bunch of the plastic trim and everything that was back there, and I built this custom wooden storage unit, basically. It's just made out of 1/4-inch plywood. It looks thick, but it's super thin. The whole thing only weighs like 30 pounds, and we each get a side. So this Leah's side is more organized, but that's all of clothes and personal gear and items for a year and a half. It also has charging from the second battery in the back, or power from the second battery in the back, so it's got lights. There's a bunch of charging for devices that'll charge all the time. So that's about it for the front of the truck.
That's amazing. I see you got some mounts up here. Can you tell us about those?
Yeah, so they're just RAM mounts for the phones. Just makes it easier to have your phone right there.
Of course, yes.
And they hold it pretty well.
Great.
And they're just, I opened it up and just bolted it right through the dash. So
easy.
Nothing fancy.
Right. Okay, now we're looking at the sleeping arrangements they have. It looks like a pretty impressive tent. What can you tell us about it?
So it's a Alu-cab, I think it's a Gen 3.1 tent. It's a clamshell style tent, so it just pops right up. The case is all made out of aluminum, so it's super strong and durable. Has insulation on the top, so it's actually quite pleasant to be in when the sun's on it, when it's hot in the morning.
Okay, well that's good.
And then other details on it, it comes with USB charging and lighting in the tent. You just run a wire to it when you're doing electrical. So that's really nice. And then I added a 12-volt fan to it, which is really great when it's this hot. The other big benefit of why we chose this tent is it's big enough that you can store all your bedding in it just the way it's set up. So.
I had a rooftop tent a couple years ago, and you couldn't leave a single thing in it when you close it down. So it's another reason why I didn't go back to rooftop tents after that one.
Right. If you're going to pop up the tent every day for a year and a half, you don't want to have to deal with all your bedding. So
Yeah.
it just pops up in 20 seconds. Pop it up and put these poles in, and it's ready to go.
Brilliant. And I see you've also got an Alu-cab awning. How quickly can you set this up?
It sets up pretty fast. It's like 20 or 30 seconds. And almost as fast to put it away. It's like one of the best parts about the truck.
Wow, yeah.
This Alu-cab gear is definitely on the higher end of stuff price-wise, but it is worth it. It's easy to set up. It's really durable. It's super strong. It's just freestanding. It does come with a pole on this leg, and then we've got 2 more poles
Okay.
that we'll put in to boost it up if for some reason the ground is too low. Or in really high winds, you can put poles in and stake it down, but it would take a lot of wind to blow this thing away.
It looks really sturdy, and that's amazing you have that because ours is not this nice.
Yeah, it's great, especially if you're in the desert or hot places. Like, I think I'll put one of these on every truck I have, whether or not it's a overlanding truck.
Right.
Because we live in the desert. It's just, we put it out for 15 minutes for lunch, so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the most interesting part of your overland build as far as I'm concerned. Let's talk about this amazing unit that you have self-constructed. So what do we got going on right here?
Okay, so there's a lot in the whole back of the truck. This was built like modular style because I can't get my truck in my shop. So I built it in pieces and brought it out to the truck. But this box right here is kind of like the utilities box of the truck. So this is a lid. This comes off if you need it to. That's storage for our table.
Okay.
And then in the main part of the box on this side is the water system. So there's a 20-gallon water tank in there. There's a 12-volt water pump. There's 2 filters for the water. So there's like a pre-filter and then a really high-quality drinking water filter. And there's a little 1.6-gallon hot water tank that you can get from Expedition Upfitter. So we have hot water built into this little unit.
Wow, impressive.
It works really well. 20 gallons of water is a lot. It's good enough easily for a week of anything we want to do. We don't usually drive around with that much in there because of how heavy it all is.
It's a lot of weight.
Usually we put 10 or 15 gallons in, but if we're going out for a long time, we can totally top it off.
Absolutely, yeah.
We can fill it with a filler neck right here, just dump water in or pump it in through a hose. But it also has the ability with this fitting here and this hose. There's 2 three-way valves. You turn those inside the setup here, and it will suck water into the tank through the filter. So you can pre-filter water out. You won't want to get the nastiest water out there, but in theory, we can take water from almost anywhere and be safe to drink it with the pre-filter, and then it's a 0.5 micron drinking water filter.
That's an impressive build you have here, and very important to have clean drinking water when you're not too sure about the quality of it, which both of us have been in that situation in our trip so far. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, now let's talk about this impressive drawer system. Now, did you make this?
I did make it, yeah. It's TIG welded aluminum. I'm not a professional welder. This is like, I learned to TIG weld on this thing, so any professional welders don't judge me, but it does stick together.
Well, it's an impressive unit. Let's see how it works.
Yeah, so this is our kitchen, this drawer system. We both really like to cook and really like to eat and make our own food.
Of course.
We like using local ingredients where we can, so we wanted to cook almost like we could at home. So this is just the fridge on this side, so it's a 55-liter Dometic fridge, and that's on a drawer slide or a fridge slide that I made with this extra little scrap plywood table. And then the main kitchen is on 4-foot-long slides, so it comes out like that. And then there's another storage box here, so in here we've just got utensils and spices and that kind of thing. This is a cutting board top, and that can come off if you want. And then so this is a stove and sink right here. The stove is a Coleman stove, same design since the 50s, so it's meant to run off either white gas or gasoline. And white gas runs a little better, but we've been running for 3 months now on straight gasoline, and it's doing just fine.
To know, yeah.
Yeah. The sink is just kind of like a basin. We just drain it into a bucket. when we're done, but we do have water here through this spigot of sorts. That's from like a machine shop lubricant line, and there's hot and cold water there. So the hot water heater uses a lot of electricity, so we don't have it on all the time, but it's set to run when the truck runs.
Oh, okay.
And then we've always got hot water if we've driven that day.
Now that is interesting.
Yeah,
that's great.
And then this is on a quick connect here. So we've also got like a shower hose that we can hook into the same line and hang it off the awning to take a shower. So we don't have a toilet, but we can take hot showers. And then the last part of the kitchen up here is just more storage. So those are coffee table hinges is what they're called. They're coffee table lifters.
Right.
They're just cheap ones off Amazon. But and then we've got more storage pots and pans, and then all our like dry goods and fruit and vegetables and everything else stays in here. There's a gasket on there, and so it stays really sealed from both bugs and dust and everything else.
Okay, yeah.
So,
Now that is an impressive unit.
thank you.
And you made it all yourself?
Yep.
Riveted it yourself, welded it yourself? No. Wow, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
it was
impressive.
a little bit of a labor of love. I think that just this kitchen is like 200 hours of work, so I could never sell it and make money.
Right, yeah.
But it was a good project to get ready for the trip.
Absolutely. So it's an impressive unit. That's a really nice sticker though, too.
The kitchen is our sticker spot.
Okay, so obviously you have an electrical system in this vehicle. I see you have a REDARC system. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the electrical system is definitely a little bit overkill. It's way more than you need, but I am a trained electrician. I worked in the solar industry for 8 years before this trip, so I wanted to put in something kind of cool.
You might as well have it work good, yeah.
So this is REDARC's, they call it a total vehicle management system, which is a little ridiculous.
Okay.
But they're a really high quality company from Australia.
Yeah.
So it's one of the things that you don't want to worry about it going bad while you're doing a trip like this.
Absolutely.
So it's a digital switching unit. So this screen controls 10 circuits. So like the lights are on digital switching, as well as the water pump, water heater, and a few other things. It also, like the water tank, there's a tank sensor in the water tank that feeds into this screen. All the battery management and charging for the battery, and what else? It's got temperature inputs, it's got all kinds of stuff.
It's got everything.
And it's also connected to your phone, so everything you can control from this screen, you can control from your phone, which is a little unnecessary.
Yeah.
But the one benefit is things like the light bar and these like floodlights run through this system.
Right.
So if something happens in the middle of the night, which is almost always a cow, but if something happens in the middle of the night in the tent on your phone, you can light up a huge area around the truck, which is
great, yeah.
which is nice.
It's kind of a security measure too, if you just hear something, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
So this is the switching unit for it. That's just a small part of it. There's extra lights on the awning I put on. That's a control for that, and the inverter control is there. But the main guts of the system is in the box up here.
Wonderful. Let's go take a look at that. So this is the guts of the electrical system that you said works from that controller. And you're not kidding, there's a lot of wires.
Yeah, it's a lot of wires. It's a little messy, but I promise it is all set up and fused correctly. So what's going on here, this top box here is the back end of the display screen and the digital switching system.
Right. Wow.
So everything comes into there. There's also a 1,000-watt inverter. That's just a Renogy inverter that runs straight off the battery. Right. For a few things that we run off an inverter. Yeah. There's a 100-amp-hour battery from Battleborn. And then tucked down in the bottom here is the charging unit of the manager of the REDARC system, which they call their Manager 30. So it's a 30-amp charger. It'll charge off the truck when the truck's running. It charges off the solar panel. So there's a 175-watt Renogy solar panel that's glued to the roof of the tent. Right. And then it also has shore power right here. So if we need it, which we've only needed once when we're in a campsite for a long time, we can plug in and charge the battery if we're not getting enough solar or not driving enough.
Yeah, that's impressive. Inverter, plus the REDARC charging system, plus shore power. plus the solar panel. That's a lot. There's a lot going on here.
There's a lot going on. There's a bunch more the system can do. It takes some programming work to set it up within their app, but you can set up a lot of digital inputs and control systems. So like when the truck goes on, the water pump goes off, and when the truck goes on, the water heater comes on.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch more you can do with those kind of.
It's a very intelligent system. Yeah, REDARC's like #1 when it comes to vehicle electronics, and it really shows, especially with the system they've installed here. Yeah, impressive. All right, so last couple things. I know you got a couple tricks. Can you show us what those tricks are?
Yeah, so I got a few things I'm a little proud of. One's under here. One thing that's always driven me crazy about watching people with rooftop tents is watching them spend half an hour trying to get their truck level.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do was, despite the fact that we're trying to be conscious about weight, I made this trailer jack. So it's an old trailer jack with a little tab welded on here and a like a pull point in the hitch. And that means that we can put the bumper to any height we want as soon as we pull up to a campsite. Yeah. Almost everything else in the truck, I pulled off other ideas, YouTube videos, everything else that's out there. This one, I'm confident in saying is my own. And then the other thing is I love magnets. So I have these magnets with a carabiner on them, and because the truck's ancient and Arizona destroyed the paint, I don't care about the paint anymore.
Right.
So you can magnet anything all around the truck if you're in Baja and the wind's blowing your chairs away. Or if you take a magnet and a spoon, when the awning's out, you can hang anything you want anywhere off an awning with a spoon and a magnet. So we have a couple portable lights we put out with this in the awning and stuff like that.
That's amazing. So, well, Travis, I know your truck's name is Opus, and that is also your Instagram name, Opusonthemove. Can you tell me the history on why you call yourself that?
Yeah, well, Travis, it all comes back to this here stuffed penguin. It's kind of a funny story. We like to try to be funny.
Yeah.
This, believe it or not, is my like infant stuffed animal from when I was a toddler that I wouldn't let go of me. And when my parents were cleaning out their house when I was in college, they decided for some reason I should have it in college, with me in college, and I did not want to put it in my dorm room at the time. That was embarrassing. So I put it in my truck that I had at college, and this penguin has been riding around in every one of my trucks for like close to 20 years now.
That's great.
So it's been in this truck since I bought it when it was brand new, and we had to name the truck because we're doing this trip, and a truck has to have a name if you're going to put it on Instagram.
True.
So Opus it is.
That's a great story. It's got a lot of history to it.
Yeah.
Well, it's been such a pleasure traveling with you guys for the past week, as well as in Baja and other parts of Mexico. Thank you so much for showing us your build and sharing it with our channel and the world. We can't wait to see what you guys are doing next on the Pan American Highway. Maybe we'll see you down the road.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We had a great time. We had a great time traveling with you guys, and it's fun to show the truck off after getting ideas from everywhere on the internet.
All right.
Buen viaje to you and Lindsay.
Thank you so much.